Okay, students, this video is more about how to graph a quadratic equation, like x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And you need 3 coordinates. 2 coordinates will be your x-intercepts. Your third coordinate will be someplace in between the coordinates and above or below the coordinates so I can complete my U-shape. So now, finding the intercept, so we've already done this already. It's quadratic formula. Matter of fact, I've already done this problem on quadratic formula, so rather than work it through step by step, and I'll just show it to you briefly. I have x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. I replace b with negative 6, b with negative 6. I replace a with 1. I replace c with negative 16. I replace a with 1. I multiply negative 6 times negative 6. I get 6. I replace negative 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 16 is 64. And 2 times 1 is 2. 36 plus 64 is 100. Square root of 100 is 10. Split it up into 6 plus 10. And let's change that or to an and, because we are using both. That's better. And then 6 minus 10. Then 6 plus 10 is 16. 6 minus 10 is negative 4. 16 divided by 2 is 8. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So if that's the case, now my left intercept is always my smallest x. So since my smallest x is negative 2, I'll replace smallest x with negative 2. And my largest x is 8. I'll replace largest x with 8. I don't need this window anymore. Now, the third point is called a vertex. Now, a vertex has 2 parts. The x value of my vertex, that's going to be my midpoint. And I'm going to find the point that's in between these 2 intercepts. Now, to do that, there's a formula. And the formula is simply negative b over 2a. So I'm going to go back to my equation, x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And here I'm going to replace b with negative 6, and I'm going to replace a with 1. And just got to do a little bit of multiplication from here. And negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 6, and 2 times 1 is 2. And 6 divided by 2 is equal to 3. So if my midpoint is 3, that's basically the x value that's in between my 2 intercepts. So I'm going to replace midpoint with 3. Now, how am I going to find the height? Well, and I don't have a formula. All I know is that of my vertex, I know x is equal to 3. So if that's the case, let's go back and examine what's going to happen at x equals 3 at this equation. Now, don't forget, we found the intercepts because we made y equal to 0. So when you see x squared minus 6x minus 16, it's all equal to 0, what it's really equal to is y. We replaced y with 0, and we just didn't say anything about it. So, and we're actually talking about height here, so I'm actually going to replace y with h in this case. And in parentheses underneath, I'm going to say they all mean the same thing. 0, and when I say the same thing, I'm talking about 0 and y and h. And just for quadratic equation. And I don't know exactly why they do that. Why they want to call it h, why they can't just call it y, why you have to continue. You're having a hard enough time figuring out what math words mean, and then they throw a synonym at you right away. It makes things a lot more difficult, but there's nothing more I can do about that. So let's work here. Now, I know that x equals 3, so let's replace x with 3. So I'm going to place x with 3 in 2 places, at x squared and at x, and let's see what happens. So here, 3 squared is 3 times 3, and 3 times 3 is 9. And negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. I'm sorry, it's 18. And negative 9 times negative 18 is just negative 9. So I'm going to replace that with negative 9. And negative 9 minus 18 is negative 25. There you go. So if my height is negative 25, I'm going to shrink this window now, and I'm going to replace height with negative 25. Now I have enough information to graph my line. So here, let's bring this up just a little bit further. Let's shrink this down a little bit more. There we go. And so my first coordinate is negative 2, comma 0. And my second coordinate I see is 8, comma 0. My third coordinate is 3, comma negative 25, which is about here. And 3, comma negative 25. It's kind of hard to write with a cursor. So I'm going to try my best to draw this graph. It's called a parabola. It's going to look rather messy, but I'll try my best. Not half bad. Not half good either, but I make sure to put my arrows at the tips. And that's how I graph a quadratic equation. I use the quadratic formula to find the x-intercepts. I have my first two here. That's why they're called roots, because that's what I need to start my equation with. To find the vertex, or the third point, what I'll need is first to find the point that's in between my two intercepts. Then I can use that point, substitute it to find the y value. I hope this helps.